I thought I had a solid marriage with Amanda, my wife of 6 years. We had built what seemed like a perfect life together in our suburban Chicago home. Then I discovered the text messages on her phone. The affair with Jason, her coworker, had been going on for months. When I confronted her, she promised to end it, but kept seeing him secretly. I uncovered disturbing facts about Jason and warned Amanda repeatedly about the dangerous red flags in his past. She chose to ignore me completely. Before I tell you how my warnings came true in the worst possible way, let me know where you are watching from and hit subscribe if someone you cared about ever ignored your warnings about a dangerous person. I met Amanda during my second year of graduate school. We were both 25, ambitious, and instantly connected over our shared love for hiking and classic films. She was pursuing a degree in marketing, while I was finishing my master's in information technology. Our first date lasted nearly 8 hours as we talked until the coffee shop closed. Then, continued our conversation walking through campus until 3 in the morning. After dating for 2 years, I proposed during a sunset hike at Starved Rock State Park. We married 6 months later in a small ceremony with just family and close friends. The early years of our marriage were everything I had dreamed about. We bought our first home in Naperville, a suburb west of Chicago, and settled into careers we both enjoyed. I worked as an IT security consultant while Amanda landed a marketing position with a growing pharmaceutical company. Life seemed perfect on the surface. We traveled during holidays, hosted dinner parties for friends, and talked about starting a family within the next year or two. But around our 5th anniversary, subtle changes began appearing in our relationship. Amanda started staying later at work, claiming new project deadlines and team meetings. She bought new clothes that were slightly more revealing than her usual style. Most concerning was her sudden protectiveness over her phone. The woman who once left her phone unlocked and unattended now carried it everywhere, even to the bathroom, and had added a new password. My suspicions grew when she began receiving texts late at night that would make her smile in a way I had not seen directed at me in months. When I asked casual questions about her day or coworkers, she became defensive and accused me of interrogating her. For 3 painful months, I wrestled with uncertainty, hoping I was just being paranoid. Part of me wanted to snoop through her phone or email, but I respected her privacy too much. Instead, I suggested date nights, planned weekend getaways, and tried to rekindle what seemed to be fading between us. Amanda would participate half-heartedly, always finding reasons to check her phone when she thought I was not looking. The discovery happened accidentally on a Tuesday evening. Amanda had left for an overnight business trip to Indianapolis that morning. I was using our shared laptop when I noticed she had forgotten to log out of her email. I was about to close the window when a new message notification appeared from someone named Jason Lang, with the subject line, "Missing you already." My heart pounded as I debated whether to open it. In that moment, my need for truth outweighed my respect for privacy. The email contained explicit references to their physical relationship and plans to meet at a hotel the following weekend, one where Amanda had told me she would be attending a marketing conference in Milwaukee. As I scrolled through their email history, I found dozens of exchanges dating back nearly 6 months. I learned that Jason was a new sales representative at her company. Their affair had begun at a corporate retreat in Phoenix. The messages revealed intimate details about their relationship that cut through me like physical wounds. I printed several of the most damning emails, then spent the night in a haze of shock and grief. When Amanda returned home the next evening, I was sitting at our kitchen table with the printed emails placed in front of her chair. "We need to talk," I said, as she walked in rolling her suitcase toward our bedroom. Her face registered confusion, then shock as she approached the table and saw the papers. She picked them up, her hands visibly shaking. "You went through my emails," she asked, her voice a mix of anger and fear. "You left them open on our computer," I replied, struggling to keep my voice steady. "Is it true?" "All of it." Amanda cycled through predictable stages in the next hour. First came denial. The emails were taken out of context. Jason was just a flirtatious friend. Then anger. How dare I invade her privacy? This was exactly why she felt suffocated in our marriage. When these tactics failed, she shifted to blaming me. My long work hours had left her feeling neglected. I never complimented her anymore. Jason made her feel desired and appreciated. Finally, as midnight approached, came the tearful confession and apologies. Amanda admitted to the 6-month affair, sobbing as she claimed to still love me, but had been confused and flattered by Jason's attention. "I will end it completely," she promised. "I will change jobs if I need to. Please give me another chance." After hours of painful conversation, we agreed to try marriage counseling. Amanda swore she would break all contact with Jason immediately. I wanted to believe her, but noticed she continued to text frequently in the days that followed, always angling her screen away from me. Instead of confronting her again immediately, I made a decision that would change everything. I decided to research Jason Lang, not just out of jealousy but from a protective instinct I could not ignore. 4 weeks after our confrontation, I discovered Amanda was still in regular contact with Jason. Despite her promises in our weekly counseling sessions, she had simply become more secretive. I found receipts for lunches at restaurants near her office when she claimed to be eating at her desk. Her supposed girls' night out was exposed when her friend Rachel accidentally mentioned not having seen Amanda in weeks during a phone call. Rather than immediately confronting her again, I took a different approach. I hired a private investigator, something I never imagined doing in my marriage. The cost was significant, but my need to understand what we were dealing with outweighed financial concerns. 2 weeks later, the investigator delivered a report that sent chills through me. Jason Lang had a troubling history that went far beyond being just a workplace homewrecker. The report documented 2 restraining orders filed against him by former girlfriends in the last 5 years. One woman had reported stalking behavior after their breakup, including showing up at her workplace and sending hundreds of text messages. Another had filed a police report, claiming he had become controlling and verbally abusive, monitoring her spending, and isolating her from friends. Even more concerning, Jason had been fired from his previous pharmaceutical sales position for workplace harassment, though he had managed to keep this information from surfacing during his hiring at Amanda's company. The investigator found court records showing Jason had filed for bankruptcy 2 years prior with substantial gambling debts among his liabilities. There were also small claims court judgments against him for unpaid loans from former friends and colleagues. The pattern was clear to me. Jason was a predator who targeted vulnerable women, isolated them, and often exploited them financially. I needed to show Amanda what I had found before she became his next victim. I carefully organized the evidence and approached Amanda one evening after dinner. I tried to present the information as calmly as possible, emphasizing my concern for her safety, rather than my anger about the continued deception. "I know you are still seeing him." I began placing the folder on the coffee table. "But this is not about the affair anymore. There are things about Jason you need to know." Amanda immediately became defensive. "You hired someone to spy on him. On me. Do you know how crazy that is? Please, just look at the reports," I said. 2 restraining orders. Amanda. Financial fraud. He was fired for harassment at his last job. She leafed through the documents quickly, her expression hardening. "These are obviously fake. You are trying to manipulate me because you cannot accept that someone else might want me. Why would I fake police reports and court documents? Call the counties listed. Verify them yourself. Even if these are real, people can change," she insisted. "Jason told me about crazy ex-girlfriends who misunderstood him. He warned me you might try something like this out of jealousy." I felt a chill at her words. "He preemptively warned you about me finding his record. Do you not see how calculated that is?" Our conversation escalated into a heated argument. The more evidence I presented, the more stubbornly Amanda defended Jason. She accused me of invading her privacy, trying to control her, and being pathologically jealous. "I'm going away this weekend with friends," she announced abruptly. "I need space from this insanity." "With friends or with Jason?" I asked. Her silence was confirmation enough. "Please, do not go," I said, pulling out the police reports and restraining orders. "Look at the pattern here. He isolates women, becomes controlling, and has financial problems he tries to solve by taking advantage of the women he dates." "Stop it," Amanda shouted. "These are lies. I cannot believe you would go to these lengths instead of just accepting that our marriage has problems." I tried every approach I could think of, appealing to her intelligence, her sense of self-preservation, even reminding her of how he had already encouraged her to lie and hide things from me. "If he is such a great guy, why all the secrecy?" I asked. Why not just be honest about spending time with him? Amanda paced our living room, growing more agitated. Because you were acting like a psycho. Because I knew you would never understand or give him a chance. As she headed upstairs to pack, I followed her, making one final attempt. Amanda, please. I am truly scared for you. His last girlfriend reported that he took her credit cards, ran up debt in her name. The pattern is textbook. Amanda whirled around, her expression twisted with anger. You are pathetic. You know that. Completely pathetic. If our marriage is over, just say so instead of inventing these ridiculous stories. She threw clothes into an overnight bag while I stood helplessly in the doorway. At least tell someone where you will be, I pleaded. Call me once a day, so I know you are okay. I am a grown woman, Nick. I do not need to check in with you. She pushed past me with her bag. Maybe do not wait up for me when I get back. Maybe I will not come back at all. The front door slammed moments later. Through the window, I watched her drive away, ignoring my final attempt to wave her down. My warnings had fallen on deaf ears, and an overwhelming sense of dread settled over me as her car disappeared down our street. The first day after Amanda left, I tried to focus on work, taking video calls from my home office while checking my phone constantly. Around noon, she sent a brief text. With friends for the weekend. Need space to think. When I asked which friends, there was no reply. By evening, my anxiety was growing. I called her phone twice, both attempts going straight to voicemail. Around 9:30, I received another text. Phone dying. Staying at cabin. Will charge when I can. Amanda and I had never discussed any cabin. The message only deepened my concern. I barely slept that night, waking repeatedly to check my phone. By morning, there were still no messages. I sent a simple text. Just let me know you are safe. Hours passed with no response. Midday, I called Rachel, Amanda's closest friend. I have not heard from her in weeks, Rachel said, sounding concerned. What cabin is she talking about? Amanda does not know anyone with a cabin. My worry intensified when I called Amanda's office and learned she had called in sick for Friday and Monday despite telling me she would be back at work on Monday. This contradicted her story about the weekend being a planned trip with friends. By Saturday evening, nearly 48 hours after Amanda left, I made a decision I had been avoiding. I accessed our shared online banking account, something we had maintained even through our recent troubles. There I found a transaction from Thursday night. Amanda had withdrawn $800 from an ATM near her office. More telling was a charge from Friday morning on her credit card, a reservation at Lakeside Cabins in Wisconsin, about 2 hours north of Chicago. The reservation was not in Amanda's name but in Jason Lang's. My instincts screamed that something was wrong. Should I drive there, call the police? What if I was overreacting and further damaged whatever was left of our marriage? At 11:30 that night, my decision was made for me. My phone rang with Amanda's ringtone. I answered immediately. Amanda. There was no direct response, just muffled sounds in the background. I could hear what sounded like an argument, a man's voice rising and falling, though I could not make out the words. Then came Amanda's voice, distant, as if the phone was not near her. Give it back. That is mine. The call disconnected abruptly. I tried calling back multiple times with no answer. After 15 minutes of increasing panic, I grabbed my keys and wallet. I entered the cabin rental name into my GPS and began the 2-hour drive north, my mind racing with worst-case scenarios. The roads grew increasingly remote as I approached the lake region of southern Wisconsin. It was nearly 2 in the morning when I turned onto the gravel driveway marked with a small Lakeside Cabin sign. The office was dark, but a map near the entrance showed the layout of 12 cabins scattered around a small lake. I had no idea which one Jason had rented. I slowly drove around the property, looking for Amanda's blue Honda Civic. I finally spotted it parked outside Cabin 8 at the far end of the property. In the moonlight, I could see it had a flat tire. Something was very wrong. As I approached, I heard shouting from inside the cabin. I recognized Amanda's voice, sounding frightened and angry. I called the local police, giving them the cabin address, and a brief explanation of my concerns, then approached cautiously. Through a window, I saw Amanda backed against a wall, tears streaming down her face. Jason was pacing in front of her, gesturing wildly with her phone in his hand. On the table beside them, I could see her purse, upended, contents scattered. I knocked loudly. "Amanda, are you okay?" The shouting inside stopped. After a moment, the door opened to reveal Jason attempting a casual smile that did not reach his eyes. "Can I help you?" he asked, blocking the doorway. "I need to speak with my wife," I said firmly. Nick, Amanda's voice came from behind Jason, sounding shocked and relieved. "She does not want to talk to you," Jason said. "We are having a private weekend." I stood my ground. "Let her tell me that herself." A tense standoff followed, broken when Amanda pushed past him into the doorway. Her mascara was streaked down her face, her eyes red from crying. "How did you find me?" she asked. "Your credit card statement," I answered. "Amanda, are you okay? I got a strange call from your phone. She accidentally called you." "Everything is fine," Jason interjected, grabbing her arm. Amanda winced and pulled away. "No, it is not fine. He took my phone when I tried to call Rachel. He flattened my tire when I tried to leave." "You are being dramatic," Jason snapped. "I was going to fix it in the morning. After you maxed out my credit cards," Amanda shot back. "After you borrowed $500 for a gambling debt you swore was the last time." The confrontation escalated quickly. Jason tried to pull Amanda back into the cabin, but I stepped forward to block him. As we were on the verge of a physical altercation, police lights appeared on the gravel driveway. Within minutes, 2 officers were separating us and taking statements. Amanda revealed that after arriving at the cabin, Jason's behavior had changed dramatically. He had convinced her to lend him money for a supposed emergency, taken her credit cards for gas, but made multiple unauthorized purchases and became controlling about her phone usage. When she discovered the extent of his spending and tried to leave, he had disabled her car and begun alternating between threats and pleading. The Jason she had known at work had vanished, replaced by someone manipulative and potentially dangerous. The officers ran Jason's information and discovered outstanding warrants for credit card fraud in a neighboring county. They took him into custody, assuring Amanda she could file additional charges for theft and possibly false imprisonment. As the police car pulled away with Jason in the back seat, Amanda stood shivering despite the warm summer night. "You were right," she whispered. "About everything. How did I not see it?" The drive home was mostly silent. Amanda stared out the passenger window while I focused on the dark highway. The eastern sky was just beginning to lighten when she finally spoke. "I am so sorry," she said, her voice barely audible. "You tried to warn me, and I treated you terribly." I kept my eyes on the road. "What happened after you got to the cabin?" Amanda described how Jason had been charming at first, making dinner and opening wine. Then he mentioned needing money for an urgent situation with his landlord, promising to pay her back Monday. When she agreed to lend him $500, he became bolder, taking her credit cards for what he claimed was a quick gas station run. Hours later, he returned with bags from electronic stores and clothing boutiques. When she confronted him, his demeanor changed completely. He became verbally abusive, accusing her of not trusting him, then switching to manipulation tactics when she tried to leave. "He let the air out of my tire and hid my car keys," she said. "When I tried to use my phone, he took it away, saying I was hysterical and would embarrass myself." I was actually scared, Nick. Truly scared. We arrived home as the sun was fully rising. Amanda discovered that Jason had spent nearly $6,000 on her credit cards in less than 24 hours. Calls to her bank revealed that he had attempted even larger purchases that had been declined. Over the next few days, the full picture emerged. Amanda learned from HR that Jason had targeted at least 2 other women at their company with similar tactics. His employment record showed he had been on probation for inappropriate workplace behavior, something that had been hidden from most employees. The shame and regret Amanda felt was overwhelming. She cried, constantly apologizing repeatedly for not trusting my warnings. "How could I have been so blind?" she asked during a particularly difficult evening. "Everything you found was true. Every red flag was real." We attempted to rebuild through renewed counseling sessions. Amanda offered complete transparency, sharing her phone, email, passwords, and whereabouts. She changed jobs to make a fresh start and suggested we move to a new home to leave the painful memories behind. Despite these efforts, something fundamental had shifted in our relationship. While I still loved Amanda, I struggled to forget how easily she had dismissed my concerns, and how completely she had trusted a virtual stranger over her husband of 6 years. 3 months after the cabin incident, we had an honest conversation about our future. We sat in our backyard as the autumn leaves fell around us. "I have been thinking a lot about what happened," I said carefully. "Not just the affair, but what came after. When I tried to warn you about Jason, you did not just ignore me, you accused me of lying and manipulation." Amanda nodded, tears forming. "I know. It was unforgivable. The thing is," I continued, "it revealed something important about how you see me, about the fundamental trust in our marriage. And I am not sure we can rebuild from that." The painful truth was that her willingness to believe a man she barely knew over her husband of 6 years had exposed a crack in our foundation too significant to repair. Despite loving each other, we both recognized that the trust essential to a marriage had been irreparably damaged. We made the difficult but mutual decision to separate. The divorce proceedings were amicable, with both of us acknowledging our roles in the marriage's failure. We sold our home and divided our possessions without conflict. 6 months later, I was settled in a downtown Chicago apartment, focusing on healing through therapy and new hobbies like rock climbing and cooking classes. Through mutual friends, I learned that Amanda was in intensive therapy, taking full responsibility for her choices and working on the insecurities that had made her vulnerable to someone like Jason. I eventually started dating again, meeting Sophia at a friend's dinner party. What struck me most about our developing relationship was her genuine respect for my perspective. When I shared concerns or observations, she took them seriously, even if she did not always agree. This simple respect felt like a revelation after what I had experienced. The most valuable lesson from my marriage's painful end was recognizing that real love includes listening to concerns from those who care about you even when they are difficult to hear. Warnings from people who truly know and love you deserve consideration, not dismissal. Jason eventually pleaded guilty to multiple counts of fraud and identity theft, with cases involving several women beyond Amanda. The pattern the investigator had identified had played out repeatedly, with Jason targeting vulnerable women, isolating them, and exploiting them financially before moving to his next victim. Amanda had ignored every warning sign, every piece of evidence, and every plea from someone who genuinely cared about her safety. The red flags had been waving violently in the wind, but she had chosen not to see them until it was almost too late. Have you ever tried to warn someone about red flags they refused to see? Or perhaps you were the person who ignored important warnings from someone who cared. Share your experience in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit subscribe, like this video, and share it with someone who might need this message. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember that sometimes the hardest warnings to hear are the ones we need most. The people who truly love us are often the ones brave enough to tell us what we do not want to hear.